Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting of Monday, March 25th, 2024. Just to remind everybody that members of the public can be present in council chambers during the meeting. And we also will be streaming the webinar on the city's YouTube site. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please? Councillor Butler, Councillor Wilson, all those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Adoption of the minutes. So we have the Governance and Operations Committee meeting of March the 11th, 2024, the public hearing of March the 11th, 2024, and the regular council meeting of March the 11th, 2024. And the recommendation is that the minutes of the Governance and Operations Committee meeting, the public hearing, and the regular council meeting all held on March the 11th, 2024 be adopted as circulated. Councillor Wilson, Councillor Cashel, all those in favor? Are you guys frozen? I'm not sure what the vote was, because, okay. Can I get you to raise your hands once again? All those in favor of the agenda? Carried unanimously, thank you. Adoption of the Governance and Operations Committee recommendations. So we have before you the Trail Regional Airport Advisory Committee. And I will read this out separately. We'll do these recommendations separately tonight. The first one is that the terms of reference for the Trail Regional Airport Advisory Committee as presented at the March 11th, 2024 Governance and Operations Committee meeting be adopted.
So moved.
Motion, please. Councillor Hanson, Councillor Wilson. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried unanimously. The second recommendation is that council appoint representatives as chair and alternate chair on the Trail Regional Airport Advisory Committee for a term ending September 30th, 2026. Councillor Wilson, Councillor Martin. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And Ms. Butler.
Yes, thank you, through your worship. We now need to nominate those people, so we would call for nominations from the floor.
Councillor Martin.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Hanson for the chair position, please.
I'll second.
Councillor Benson seconded. Okay, Councillor Hanson, do you accept the nomination?
I do accept the nomination. Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Okay. Now, do we have to have a vote? I guess we do. All those in favor of Councillor Hanson becoming the chair of the airport committee, all those in favor, carried unanimously. And so we need a second representative for the alternate chair on the Trail Regional Airport Advisory Committee. Yes, go ahead.
Your worship, I just would like to remind whoever is being the alternate, you're also a member of the committee, so you're not just there on alternate times, you're actually there at every meeting.
So, Councillor Wilson,
Could I appoint Councillor Butler or make the nomination?
you can nominate them for sure.
I would
Thank
like
you.
to second that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Cashel has had his hand up first. So Councillor Butler, do you accept the nomination? Okay, thank you. All those in favor of Councillor Butler as the alternate? Looks like it's carried unanimously. Thank you both for stepping up into that position. We're looking for good stuff to come out of there. So the next item on the agenda is the Trail Community Action Team, the request for a cash grant. And the recommendation is before you, and that is that council provide the Trail Community Action Team with a cash grant in the amount of $2,500 to support the presentation of Guy Bellicella, to include an additional amount to cover his flight and accommodation to attend the presentation. Someone want to make that motion, please? Counselor
I'll
Butler,
second that.
Counselor Wilson seconded it. I wanted to make a friendly or amendment to the, seconded.
Well, sorry, your worship, through the council, you first need to put your amendment on the table.
Okay.
And then have it moved and seconded.
Okay. So I would like to make an amendment to the recommendation that's before us. And I would like to recommend that we also provide the Trail Action Team with a cash grant of $10,000 as well as the $2,500. And I just need a seconder. Councilor Butler, thank you. Any questions or comments on that before we move forward with the amendment? Councilor Benson.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this, Mayor Jones. So I thought a lot about the presentation that they gave, and I also thought about when I first joined council and things that were explained to me about council's method of supports, particularly the difference between financial support and advocacy support. And I truly believe that council support is better served through advocacy position right now. I feel that we must continue to implore the provincial government to ensure funding for our CAT committee is consistent and adequate. When the decriminalization of hard drugs and public consumption was announced by the province, no additional funding or supports were provided to our communities. And Mayor Jones, you lobbied for this at the AKBLG last year, and we all supported you on that. And I just think that we need to continue to advocate to the provincial government to be providing the funding for this, our CAT committee and all CAT committees. I'm really happy to support them bringing in a speaker, and I'm happy to pay for this. And if there's another event that they want to do in the future, I invite them to come back and do another grant and aid. But when the presentation was given, and for me, the interest was about the institutional stigma that our vulnerable population face at hospitals and pharmacies. And we were told that no funding was required for this education. It's done by volunteers. To me, ensuring that our vulnerable receive adequate care is the utmost importance, and knowing that it can be delivered by volunteers is both admirable, and it really legitimizes this organization even further. I believe in this organization, and I'm happy to support their functions. I really believe that the province should be providing funding for them. So I'm going to stand by my vote on March 11th.
Thank you, Councilor Benson. Councilor Cashel.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Yeah, I spoke to this in some detail at the governance and committee meeting, so I'll have to maybe repeat myself again. What I've learned in my kind of learning curve as a working councillor is the importance, and I respect what Councillor Benson has just stated, the need for advocacy, but I also come to appreciate the need for advocacy groups to be separate from city governance. And this is an example where I think that line has been blurred. And I think from our participation in the Trail Community Action Team, we attend their meetings, we get their agendas, we get copies of their minutes, and I think it could be argued that we are a part of the team. So it's like the community action team is coming to the team to ask for funds. And I think that's where having an arm's length relationship between advocacy groups, whether they sit on the left side of the fence or the right side of the fence, is important. And I think it's important for both parties. I think it will give them more opportunity to hold us to account, but when we're all on the same team, it makes it very difficult and very blurred. And then I came to this realization a few months ago. But what really impacted me is the importance, the difference, and I'll go back to, again, I raised it at the governance and committee meeting, and I respect what the Trail Community Action Team does. I respect Diana Daghoffler and Tammy McLean. I know they're committed and they're passionate and they care and they do great work. I'm not disputing any of that. But I'm looking at it, I put it on my lens of city governance, and I have to try and look at it through the lens of what our constituents would expect from the people that they elected. So some time ago, I followed the Trail Community Action Team on social media, and I found this on a Facebook post. And it says, it's titled Trail Community Action Team, and it says, on October the 25th, 2023, 2 members of the Drug Users Liberation Front were arrested for offering a safe supply program for people who use substances. In solidarity with DULF Gulf, we are asking our supporters to sign an open letter demanding that the Vancouver Police, the City of Vancouver, and the province of BC immediately cease criminalizing community-regulated safe supply in BC, restore DULF funding cut by the Vancouver Coastal Health, and formalize a commitment to create a framework to uphold and protect community-regulated safe supply. And I'm not taking a position for or against safe supply, but my position is this. The founding members of the Drug Users Liberation Front were purchasing meth, cocaine, and heroin off organized criminals on the dark web. Now, this was done in the name of safe supply because they were testing it and then they were reselling it at cost to their user base. So I'm like, I can't support any entity or agency, including the Trail Community Action Team, that will go to an extreme of criminality to support the safe supply mandate that they advocate for. It crosses a moral and ethical boundary for me, and I'm confident that if we were to poll our constituents, the vast majority would feel the same way I do. So for those reasons, and other reasons that if people want to go back and look at the Governance and Operations Committee meeting that was discussed in this building 2 weeks ago, you'll see the other reasons why I also have concerns about supporting it. But the main concern right now for me is having a separation between advocacy groups and city governance. And that's the reason why I can't support the $10,000 ask. Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. Is there anyone else that wants to speak before I have a few words to say as well? I don't see anybody else's hands up. Okay. Thank you, Council, for the opportunity of bringing this back to Council for discussion. As we've all said, we've attended the TCAT monthly meetings, and we know the work that they're doing in our community and in other areas. We have also attended their online workshops to learn more about stigmatization and how it affects the lives of people living with addiction and people living without homes. We've all attended the Ryan Down workshops that have been a huge success with a large number of our community members and business people participating to learn more about this vulnerable group and how they can save lives by understanding it better. I believe our community is safer and more understanding, having had the opportunity for these workshops and the ability to learn more about this vulnerable group. The funding that we're providing for Guy Felicella will be another opportunity for our community to learn more about addiction and being homeless and vulnerable. He'll talk about the importance of full spectrum care in our community, which I believe are missing in our community. We don't have the wraparound services that we need to help this population move forward in their healthcare. He'll be in our community for 2 days. And he will be he'll be addressing the students at J. Lloyd Crow at the KSLC school, and he'll be attending the West Kootenay Homeless Response Summit in April. But there's more opportunities for him to speak, and we're looking for other ideas. The work that the committee does, the TCAT committee does and is doing, is done with very limited volunteers and resources. So I will be supporting this motion. I think we need to continue to educate our community on what we have in our community. And I would also like to encourage TCAT to reach out to the other communities in our area, such as Roslyn and Warfield and Montrose and Fruitville, for their support as well. Those communities are very supportive and understanding of our homeless situation, and they've supported us before when we asked them to write to BC Housing. I can't imagine why they wouldn't support us with this. So I hope that they will support TCAT's work as well. And I look forward to hearing back from them as to how they made out with the other councils. So the motion is on the floor for an amendment of $10,000 to the TCAT committee. Oh, Councillor Benson has her hand up. Are you seconding that motion?
I think it was already seconded, wasn't it?
It was.
We're discussing.
Okay,
I'm okay with it. I just don't want to lose track that I would like to see more advocacy as their presentation really kind of touched more into their like operational funding. And I'm just concerned that down the road, it's going to be the city continually funding for operations for them. And I really just want to voice that I really feel that this should be coming from the province. But I will support it this year because I do see the work that they do in our community, but I will say that I hope to see more advocacy to the province of BC.
thank you, I agree. Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Just to echo what Councillor Benson has just mentioned, I see what TCAT does locally. I saw what TCAT did with our emergency weather shelter that we had a few months ago. If it wasn't for folks who were from TCAT and their connections, we wouldn't have had the success we did, along with yourself. Please remember that. So I will be voting in favor of the amendment. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other speakers before I go for the vote? All those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Thank you, carried. All those in favor of the recommendation of the $2,500 to support the presentation of Guy Filicello to include an additional amount to cover his flight and accommodations to attend the presentation.
Your worship, sorry, through the council, so we are now voting on the motion put forward for the 2,500 with the amendment of adding the 10,000. So it's the 10,000 plus the 20,000.
Thank you. I know it gets muddy sometimes. Okay, all those in favor of the recommendation, Councillor, all those opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you, everyone. So on to public question period. Is there anyone here for public question period?
Oh, no.
Sorry, through your worship, we just asked, is Councillor Cashel and Councillor Hanson,
If they
which
want
we
to
recorded
vote?
opposed?
I was opposed to.
I was opposed.
Yep, okay.
Oh, okay, thank you. And would you like to be recorded as opposed?
Yes, please.
Everyone? Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay, so, sorry, Audrey, if you want to come up to the podium now. I just need your name and address before you, although we know each other well, I still need you to state it, please.
Yeah, sure. My name is Audrey Durham. I live on Columbia Avenue in Trail. And I'm here representing the Trail Neighbors to Neighbors group tonight. We met twice. The first time some council was there at the Chamber of Commerce. And the second time we met at Riverbell a couple of weeks ago. We had about 70 people and I'm representing about 200 members right now on Trail. Before the meeting, I watched the economic development part of the governance. I wish I would have watched you, Nick. But that was all I wanted to know, just to get a better understanding why council is giving up the Trail's biggest asset for this shelter location. And I can't still make heads nor tails of it with the location. Trail N2 opposes the Riverside Avenue site for BC Housing and requests council to find a more suitable site and safe location for all the residents. And I'm wondering, how do we go from a proposed shelter relocation from downtown to an injection inhalation site deal without consultation? I don't I haven't heard of any council consultation on the injection site, and I know there wasn't any community consultation. By locating this shelter on Riverside, you're listening to a very small group that have taken priority over the other most vulnerable residents, our seniors and our children. They deserve a safe community to live in. The BC Housing's March 14th meeting was not a community consultation. It did confirm there's no measures, no extra guardrails in place to mitigate the impacts on neighbors' safety. The safety plan is the same as we have now, and it's not working downtown. You can just stroll around and see. So shuffling the folks 200 meters down Bay Avenue and letting them bring drugs into a building with a place to use is creating an even bigger high-risk situation, and the neighbors and community are basically on their own. Trail Neighbors to Neighbors is requesting for a proper community consultation and for council to find a safe location 500 meters from neighbors and the downtown. We are opposed to the injection inhalation shelter site. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Roger. Was there questions in there that you wanted me to ask that we didn't get at that meeting with the BC Housing last week? Is there questions in your comments just now that you want me to forward to BC Housing that they might not have already?
Yeah, my understanding was that we can, as soon as we get the minutes from that meeting, we've got 25 questions to submit, and my understanding was that
They were submitted. Tanya handed them over to BC Housing.
no, those weren't the questions, so, yeah. So that's my understanding. Did she hand them over?
I have no idea she had it over, she said she had.
Who'd she hand them
She had
to?
25
Hand them over,
questions.
yeah, to
Do you?
BC Housing.
Okay, my understanding is that we're waiting for minutes, and then the minutes will come, and then we will,
Oh,
ask
I'm
for
sorry,
some-
Audrey. No, Tanya had them all typed up. My understanding, she had 25 questions typed up and she was handing them over to BC Housing.
Well,
Yeah.
my meeting that I had with Tanya beforehand was, we had 12 questions,
Hmm.
and they were for asking at the meeting, but the meeting was a gong show. It was canceled, the communication was bad, we didn't even know if the folks could get in. So those were questions that we were going to ask at the meeting, so, yeah.
Okay.
So, but there wasn't 25, I'm 100% sure of that, so. And I don't know that she handed them in, Colleen, so.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't know.
I can follow up on that.
I can too, but
Okay, yeah, you know.
my
Tanya better than I
instructions
do.
from her were to, when we get the minutes, and I've been working on the questions, because they were all about Nelson, the questions, to make them relevant to trail.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you, Audrey.
okay.
Is there anyone else for public question period?
I have just a couple of questions.
Sorry, Marion, I just got to get you to state your name and address.
Marion Fisher, 211 Ritchie in Trail. I have not yet heard a cost, what it's going to cost to build this shelter. Does anybody know? And then what is the projected, annual operating cost to run the shelter? And the other question is there a cost to the guests at all to stay in the shelter?
Okay, Your Worship, the correct answer would be BC Housing is responsible for the costs of the build out of the shelter, so they have shared that with us. It's not something that we know, or it's not a cost to the city of Trail taxpayer as far as a municipal cost. Nor do we know what the operating cost is. Those are all relationships between BC Housing and the providers.
Right.
So, yeah.
But in terms of a BC taxpayer?
No, I hear you, but that
We
would
should
be,
know
that's not a
that.
question that we have an answer, that we can submit that to BC Housing, but we don't have an answer.
And my other concern comes from a conversation with a drug addicted individual downtown Trail. And she basically said that the monthly money she receives goes directly to the drug dealer. And that happens in many cases in the downtown core. So, and it probably turns out to be about $50,000 a month for that drug dealer in our small community of 7,500, right? So you extrapolate that and get to the yearly cost of what that drug dealer receives from the less fortunate, the drug addicted individual. And you get well over $500,000 times 20 small BC communities is a huge number. And I would say we'd be better off utilizing that money instead of giving it to the drug dealers to use it for the facility to house and treat individuals that sorely need it. But as it is now, it's going to the individual, it's going to the drug dealer, and it's a thankless cycle. And until we get treatment, I mean, all that money, like that serious amount of money. Paul, you're the, financial guy, and what is it? Turns out to be something like, I don't know, $648,000 in a year, and then you multiply that by 20 communities, approximately, these are all approximations, $13 million in 1 year. That's a lot of service, a lot of treatment, and a lot of housing. So, like you guys, I know you're working hard on the problem, but until we start looking at the actual dollars that our communities and our province are paying the drug dealers, I'm at my wit's end, and I know that as it's going, we're creating a community with an industry of poverty instead of opportunity. And every one of you here wants this city to be a city of opportunity. And I'm just not sure that the way we're headed is we're in the right direction. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Marianne. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is communications. Oh,
Hi, I'm really sorry for being late.
did you want to ask a question during public question period?
I think that it would be more like I think it's a comment question.
Okay, well, you gotta get up to the podium, please.
Sorry, I'm not used
And
to
state
this.
your name
This is
and
my first time.
address.
My name is Natalie Phillips. Hello, I live at 2097 Topping Street up in West Trail. I am thinking about, or actually I've rented a space to start a business, downtown Trail. I guess my main there's many concerns. It's about the shelter that's coming in. I am not sure as to whether or not it's a safe injection site, if there's safe supply offered. I'm still not clear as to what it is, whether or not there'll be drugs allowed in the premises. And I would like to say that I don't agree with the model of this. I think that we need to have a more clear plan as to who we're not choosing, I guess allowing to stay at a shelter that's funded by taxpayers' money. I want to say that I'm not against a shelter. I care about everybody. And I've noticed in the last while of being around in Trail, like I've lived here for 3 years, and my grandfather built a bridge. I have lots of family here, and I'm happy to be back in the area. And I know that there's been a lot of attention to kind of giving Trail a facelift. And I know that in the past it's had kind of a bad rap. And I feel like we're just coming about like having a more beautiful town and having more community. And I feel like if we could all get together and come up with a really good plan to help the people that are unhomed and that have addiction problems, and we're such a small town that I feel like per capita, we could actually make a really good model, because we're not in Vancouver with millions of people. We have enough people that maybe would support something. Anyway, that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions for public question period? No. Okay, we'll move on to item number 6, and that's communications, and we have unsightly premises, 959 Milligan Avenue. And I'll pass that over to Ms. Lucchini. Are you taking?
Yes, so we are advancing this property for council's consideration. The city's unsightly premises bylaw requires that property owners maintain the property to a certain standard. And the property located at 959 Milligan currently fails to meet that standard. The property owner has been requested to remove the accumulation of discarded materials from around the dwelling, and work has not been done by the required date. Photos are attached in council's package of the condition of the exterior of the property. It is recommended that council issue an order for the property owner to remove the discarded materials from the property, and if in default, the city take action to carry out the work pursuant to the unsightly premises bylaw number 2669.
Thank you, Ms. Lucchini. Is there someone, any questions or comments before we move to recommendations? No? Okay, can I have someone make that motion, please? Councillor Cashel and Councillor Butler, all those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. And on to the Columbia Basin Trust Resident Directed Grant Program. And I will pass this on to CAO.
Okay, well, thank you. It's that opportunity here now to kind of show council where we ended up. And I know that Councillor Hanson has had to go, so she has dropped off that Amir. In case you're aware of that, make sure you're aware of that. So I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully everyone can see this. Okay, is that visible enough for people? Can you guys see that on your screens? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way that we've done this was we know what the funds are requested from City of Trail, we know the funds are requested from other locations. But where we were at was asking council to go back, have a vote and provide an allocation that they felt would be appropriate for each one that they wanted to support. And from there, the formula that we started point with, which is again going to be seen under what is called S there, which says yellow is a starting point for the March 27th, off by a couple of days, meeting, but the green column, the green numbers are the votes. So the way that it works is that, say for example, 7 people voted for a certain program, and each of them, 3 people gave 5,000, 1 people gave 4,000, and the other ones gave 1,000. So we know that there's at least, everyone's voted for it, but where I've kind of had the starting point on is that we know that as a minimum, because 3 people voted for 5,000, 1 person voted for 4, that there would be a vote, and then 4,000 would be sort of the lower limit. Okay. So that's what I've applied with the numbers here. So as we do that application, and I get down to the bottom here, you will see that we are slightly still above the threshold. So then that means that we are going to have to lower, either throughout and or individually to kind of get to a point where we can get this balance. So right now, based on the numbers and the votes, interesting to me, between all of the applications, most of them got 7 votes. There's only 6 that only got 6 votes. There was nothing after that. There's no lower rounds. But we are going to need to either do one of a few things. One thing that we did last year is we sort of plugged in what the gap was and sort of proportionally took money off of each property. Or we can look at some of these and make a decision if a certain dollar amount needs to come off one of the asks. So I don't know how council would like to proceed on that, but that's sort of where we're at right now. That's about it.
Just a clarification, if some of the groups that might have received only 6 votes could indicate personal involvement or a role with that organization, so the individual would be recusing themselves? Is that-
Well, there was one, most people did kind of just kind of keep the vote, but knowing that when we get to the end result,
Mhm.
those that have, like a board member seat, that we're aware of that and we will kind of do those ones individually and ask that person kind of vote for that.
Mhm.
And then we'll do the rest collectively, which, nobody has any conflict.
Councillor Benson, you have a question?
That was my question as well, just about the 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
And the fifth column, sorry,
Yes,
the last page you include,
yes.
that would be your average, is that correct?
No, so what that is right now is, it's just a mathematical component, so if we change something in where the yellow highlighted is, then that will affect it there, but if I plunk in to a space, whatever difference we end up, it'll reallocate it out evenly or proportionally across the whole group, and so then mathematically it would take, what the starting point was, minus the proportionate amount, will then be the final ready grant amount, which will match the 118,485.
I believe Councillor Butler last year suggested maybe reducing the amount proportionately to balance it out, so I would like to recommend that again this year as a method to balance it out. Right now we're $13,308 over.
Yes.
So could we take that and
Like I
apply
said,
that?
yeah, it's very easy, I just go right here.
Because it's tough to go into any of these specifically and say, these B people, they really bother me. I know, I'm getting at here, like, it's really hard because all these applicants are worthy recipients. And that would be my recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, so just in doing that, so I plunk that in, and you can see we're now balanced, and you can see what the final result will be. Some of these things are- this is what you're showing. Again, that's one easy solution, and if council's in favor, I don't know if we kind of want to just see what the effect was for everyone, but I mean, you can see pretty minor on the small ones and proportionally there.
I don't know, I'm comfortable with that, looks good to me. It looks fair and,
Again,
Yeah.
council's comfortable with that.
okay.
Yeah, but
So do we need a motion for that, or we?
Yes, we do, please, your worship.
Okay.
But we could, if we could, we know that, if we could, on the corporate side, have probably 3 motions, I think, one voting on the amount for hospital foundation separately, and then for, what was the other one?
3.
I'm
Sorry, CEO, I don't think we need separate motions for our hospital foundation.
I think that we should. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the cleanest, and I think, you can't remember, Council Benson, sorry, the one that you were involved with, forgive me.
Okay, the community futures, still CUNY.
Yes, sorry. So the community futures,
Okay.
and if we have, so again, your worship, if you could put forward a recommendation to provide the ready grant funding for trail community greater futures. Community futures and greater trails, 2,248. Then a second motion of providing 21,224 to the Kootenai Boundary Regional Hospital and Health Foundation.
Okay,
And then the remaining amounts just to be as one lump sum as allocated on the sheet. That
As
way, we'll
allocated.
just- we'll just ask that those that are in conflict that wouldn't vote, that's all.
fine, okay. So is there someone that wants to make that motion for me? And I'm sure that Sandy's got it down, but, anybody? Councillor Martin, did you put your hand up?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson,
So that's the first one for community
The-
trail, for
yeah,
the
community
futures.
futures.
Excuse me, is there somebody declaring a conflict of interest?
that we're seeing here right now?
Councilor Benson
Councilor Benson.
is declaring a conflict of interest with respect to the project for community feature silk.
Okay.
So Councilor Martin has moved and
So
Councilor Wilson? Okay, so are we on the hospital board one?
you need to.
So we're on the motion, we have the motion for the community futures. All those in favor? All those opposed? That was carried, well, carried.
And we had one abstain.
Sorry?
So, and again, so that Councilor Benson did not vote.
Right. And Councillor Benson abstained, okay. Then we move on to the Kootenai Boundary Regional Hospital Foundation for the amount of $21,224. May I have a motion to send?
may I recuse myself from that?
Yes, okay. Is there any, Councillor Martin has to recuse himself?
Nope, I do
Oh, I
not.
think so.
Sorry,
You made the motion.
Oh, are you? Okay, I'm sorry. He sits on the foundation though, don't you?
No, I do not. Not on the KBRH Health Foundation.
Oh, okay, sorry, my.
That's okay.
I'll second that
Councillor
motion.
Wilson is making the motion. Is there a seconder? Oh, Councillor Martin, thank you.
That's okay.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And sorry, Mr.
And then I would just say that the remaining
And the, okay,
allocations of the ready grant be approved
as allocated.
Yep. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A seconder, please. Councillor Cashel, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, we have two bylaws before you. We have 7.1 is the zoning amendment bylaw number 2937/2024. And the recommendation is that the zoning amendment bylaw number 2937/2024 be adopted. Any questions or comments on that? Before we move the motion, okay? Someone move the motion, please. Councillor Butler, Wilson, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. And the second item is the zoning amendment bylaw number 2938/2024. Recommendation is that it be adopted. Is there someone to make that motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Martin and Councillor Wilson. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So we have council committee reports and Councillor Benson, you're up first.
Thank you, Your Worship. On March 14th, I was invited to attend a training session for the Trail Ambassador Program, and coincidentally, the 6 candidates were learning about local government at that session in preparation for their upcoming knowledge exam. It's coming up at the beginning of April. Their next event is the City of Trail Knowledge presentation on April 5th, where each candidate will present a board on one aspect of trail that interests them, and it will be judged. This is the first official mark that they will receive that will determine who the 2024 Trail Ambassador team is. Earlier today, the Silver City Days Committee met, and I think it's appropriate that I can start the countdown to Silver City Days. So at 43 days. Please mark your calendar. We have our food fair vendor lineup ready to go, and we're finalizing some of the other events. I'm happy to report that thanks to the diligent work of Ms. Lucchini, secured 2 grants for the event so far, one from Columbia Basin Trust and one from Columbia Power. We'll start our outreach to community sponsors this week, and we plan to have a full schedule of events up on our website at the beginning of end of March, so that everyone can start making plans. So as things ramp up, we will start meeting weekly in April, and I'll have more to report on. That is my report.
Thank you, Councillor Benson. Any questions? Okay. Did you find a new mural though?
I would really like the one I sent. It's gorgeous.
Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Mary Jones. On March 21st, along with yourself, Mayor Jones, Councillor Hanson, and Airport Manager Enrico Moreland, we attended the Trail and District Chamber of Commerce monthly business after business at Winnetka Plaza. It was a special evening. Many local businesses throughout Greater Trail were recognized for their tenure and membership with the Trail and District Chamber of Commerce. And that recognition included the Trail Regional Airport with 10 years of membership with the Chamber, the Trail and District Public Library at 25 years, and the City of Trail at 45. So a big thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for all they do for our local business community. Also on the 21st, along with Councillor Hanson, I attended the regular monthly meeting of the Downtown Improvement Committee meeting. That's my report, Mayor Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Any questions for Councillor Butler? Councillor Cashel.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. On March the 12th, I met with Dan Rodley, the chair of the Communities in Bloom organization, along with committee member Keith Smythe, with the purpose to develop an advisory group to consult with the city to advance Community in Bloom's mandate with an updated terms of reference. Terms of reference go back 23 years. So the kind of the objectives are to look at the sustainability of the current program that will be studied, an analysis of the current appetite for continuity. So that is, what is the will of council and staff? We want to, have your engagement going forward. A plan for succession needs to be addressed, and also a timeline for change as well. We're hoping that this will be all presented and finalized by March 31st of 2025. And that concludes my report, Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. Any questions? Okay. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I apologize as I do not have a report for this evening's meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Martin. And Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship. On March the 14th, I attended 2 meetings put on by BC Housing regarding the Riverside Shelter with yourself. I want to thank all those that came to the meeting. There were some folks today in our City Hall who were there. They raised a number of concerns. I think for us, we got to figure out which ones fall sort of within our command of that area. And I know as we proceed, there'll be a lot more talks, but it was very informative and there was a lot of good concerns raised. So I think they were 2 very productive meetings, and that's all for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Any questions for Councillor? Okay, so I have a few items that I would like to just bring up tonight. We've got some very exciting news about the Trail Bill of Senior Housing, and the redevelopment of it has been approved and will be funded by BC Housing. Yes, very exciting. TAC and Kootenay Savings Community Foundation have also provided some financial support. There will be 2 3-story buildings, each with an elevator, covered access between the buildings. When it's completed, there will be 41 one-bedroom units as opposed to the current 23 units. So we're getting more housing units for the seniors, and the units will be larger than they are right now. And they will be designed to meet the needs of the seniors that are living in that complex. So exciting news, there's going to be some parking on site, and the existing covered parking will be also retained. I wanted to let council know, and I think I might have spoken to you a bit about it, but I have been asked to participate in a panel session with Interior Health at the upcoming AKBLG convention in Radiant Hot Springs. And the title of the session that we'll be doing is Building Climate Resilience Together, Intersectoral Actions to Adapt to a Changing Climate and Changing Communities. And I've been asked to speak about the emergency weather response shelter that council and the community put together. So I'm excited about that, to share that information with other communities. And so if that's what they're looking at moving forward too, they've got some good experience and information that we'll be sharing. As Councillor Wilson said, we did meet with BC Housing to discuss some of the issues down on Riverside Avenue, the safety of the area, what's expected from the shelter operator and what part of the questions and concerns that they had are the city's responsibilities. So the BC Housing has the questions, and they will be replying back to the group with their answers, and I'm sure that the city will get some answers to that as well. I also want to mention, today at our governance and operations meeting, we appointed 2 new positions to the Trail and District Library Board. And those 2 recipients or new board members are Deanna Gonzalez and Nineski Balaja. And they will be joining the library board. I'm assuming that the chair of the library board has already reached out to them. And so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And it's just great that we have people from the community interested in being on those boards and participating in the community like that. Also, this morning, I attended the Ending Working Poverty meeting, and it was basically a discussion about, most of council went to the roundtable discussions a couple of weeks ago. And it was just going over everything that we heard there and how we're going to build that into our program or our plans for the committee, because it is a new committee and we actually got a lot of good ideas. One of the things that came up that was really important and I thought was a good idea was a community bulletin board, because there's a lot of people that are vulnerable and live on the streets and they don't have anywhere to go and get information about what's happening in the community. If there's a downtown community dinner, they don't know how to find out that information. They don't know how to find out where they can go to get their services. So that was one of the best ideas that came up. We talked about housing, what that looks like to them. Of course, housing is a big issue for all our groups, but it was most of these discussions are around people that are living in poverty or with poverty, and they're single parents, and it's a little bit more difficult to get rental or housing when you're already in that situation. So, childcare is a big issue. So I can see lots of good stuff coming out of this working group. I think that's all I had to mention today. That's my report. Any questions or comments or?
No.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the consent agenda, and we have one item under the consent agenda, and that's the report on the invoices paid for municipal services, December 1st to 31st, 2023. And the recommendation is before you. Will someone make that? Councilor Wilson, thank you. Councilor Benson, thank you. All those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Any new business tonight? Okay. The next item is adjournment. Councilor Wilson. Councilor Pettler, all those in favor? Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Right.